can you tell me when we go live so I can formally start the ceremony?
And then we let people in already on Zoom.
Good morning.
Let everyone
So
in.
what's up?
We are already live? Okay. So I can start saying welcome, hello, Magadang Gabi, Sawadee and bonsoir à tous. Thank you for joining us. I'm very happy to open this ceremony. We are here to celebrate Romy's life and to share during this evening memories of him. I would like to give a big thanks to the FCCT and his president, Panu. Thank you very much for hosting this ceremony. It's very much appreciated. And I would like to introduce our co-host for tonight. We will have Mladen Antonov, who is the photo chief for AFP in Bangkok and will soon be photo chief for Asia Pacific in Hong Kong. And Sabrina Gacad, who is daughter of Romy. Hi, Sabrina. Kamusta kayo, Sabrina?
Thank you, Stefan. We are in a good place.
Recording in progress.
Considered. Hello. Is Mladen there yet?
Yes, he's here. We can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will start the ceremony very soon. I would like to thank you, everybody, for joining here physically and mainly virtually everywhere. I think we have people in, of course, the Philippines, in Malaysia, in Myanmar, in the US, where Romy has a lot of family in California. And welcome to everybody, and I'm very happy to hear what you have to share about Romy. Thank you, and so I give the floor to Sabrina.
Good evening, everybody. For Southeast Asia, good morning for North America, and I might be missing a couple of time zones. On behalf of our family, my sister Bianca, my brother Raha, my mom Nida, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for having supported us through the past couple of weeks. And we wanted to gather everybody online in Thailand because we wanted to connect everybody together. I think all of us feel a very big loss. And we also wanted to offer this space so that we can all celebrate Romy Gacad, my dad, our dad, your lakay, your abogadi, your what were the other things that people said about my dad? The very many wonderful things. But we all share him, so we're very happy for you all to be here. I wanted also to introduce my co-host on the ground in Thailand, in Bangkok. Mladen, are you there? In the meantime that we're trying to connect, we also wanted to say absolutely a big thank you to the Agence France Presse Bangkok Bureau for making this possible, to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand. Thank you for hosting us tonight. My dad's media, press family who are all here tonight, thank you. So to get us started, we also wanted to offer music that is performed by my cousin, Kathleen Mangusing. She is Romy's niece and she is a professional violinist in the Southern California area. So Tom, if you would very graciously play us the music and the video. All right. I also meant to say, please expect some technical delays as we navigate the Zoom and our cross-continental kind of program tonight.
Thank you for the beautiful music. I'm pretty sure Romy is listening now, and he likes it very much. Now I want to give the word to the president of the Foreign Club, a Foreign Journalist Club of Thailand, Mr. Panu, for a few words. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great loss indeed to our community with the passing of Romy Gacad, or Romy. I have to admit that I personally don't know Romy at a personal level. I've met him a few times doing stories in various places across Asia. But I have heard a lot about him through a lot of my friends and colleagues and other journalist peers. From what I learned is this: Romy is a complete journalist, a model professional who not only understands photography, but also the various other ways to tell each story. His career spanned more than 3 decades, starting from the fall of the Marcos regime in his home country, the Philippines, to Iraq in the early 90s, East Timor in the late 90s, Afghanistan in 2001, the Rohingya exodus, and so on and so forth. But in the word of my friend and his AFP colleague, whenever there is a major groundbreaking event in Asia, the chances are Romy was there to cover it. I was also told that despite being awarded 2 Pulitzer Prizes for outstanding photography in 1988 and 2001, Romy has always been modest and humble. He was a great mentor for many of my friends and colleagues, and most importantly, he was a fierce friend and a gentlemanly figure in our community. I can't stress how important that is in our community of foreign correspondents and journalists. Our jobs take us to many places in often lonely and stressful endeavors. Sometimes we are far away from home, and all we have is our friends and colleagues. And I was told that Romy is a kind of guy, a colleague that would help lift people's spirits and many around him in difficult times. Journalists like Romy reminded us, all of us, about how we can go about our job and duty with fearlessness as well as kindness and humility. On behalf of the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand and the journalist community here in this region, I want to bid a fond farewell to our friend Romy. His passing is indeed a great loss for our community, but let his story and his integrity be the model for all of us, not only as journalists, but also as a fellow human being. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pano, for again for hosting this event. And now I want to give the word to Bianca. She's going to read us a poem by Virgilio Aumario.
Yes, thank you for my height. Good evening, everyone. So, I'm Bianca. I'm the second child of Romy, and I'm going to read to you tonight this poem by the national artist for literature in the Philippines. His name is Virgilio Almario, and you can read the English translations in the copies distributed to you. That's a translation by award-winning poet Marnie Calatis. I hope I give justice to Rio Alma's poem. Retratista. May mga nilikhang dalubhasa sa pagtimpla ng dilim at liwanag upang maipahayag ang angkop at tumpak na antas ng adhika niyang katotohanan. Ang buklod ng nilulunggati at ang minimithi, ang pagbubukod ng mithi sa nilulunggati sa bawat magkahubog na larawan. Mangangatha ng mundo, ang mundo ng masalimuot na mga dilim at liwanag. Ang mundong sinikap niyang bigyan ng mga anyo at anino sa mga retrato ng kanyang sariling pagdanas at pangangarap. Dahil batid niya pagkatapos ng lahat, ang katuturan ng kanyang buhay ay nakasalig sa talim ng pag-usig sa dilim, sa hinahon ng pagbuklat at pagtuklas sa liwanag, sa sining at timpla ng katapatan, at mga balintuna ng kanyang iniwang mga larawan para sa atin. Para sa alaala ng kaibigang Romy Gacad, Rio Alma, thank you so much, everybody. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Now I would like to welcome Stefan Delfour, the Bureau Chief of AFP here in Bangkok, and responsible for all Southeast Asia.
Responsible or irresponsible? Thank you, Mladen. Well, it's of course a privilege for me to be able to say a few words about Romy, and also be the voice of AFP, a company, a family. He has joined in 1985, and where he has many friends around the world who have worked with him, where he was stationed in Manila, in Jakarta, in Rangoon, and finally in Bangkok. Or people who met him and worked with him on multiple missions. He participated in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and elsewhere. Romy was also someone we would ask for difficult missions. For example, when we opened our Pyongyang bureau a few years back in North Korea, he was the one we sent to train people from Pyongyang to become journalists by the standards of AFP. I would like to show again this photo that's very famous from him, not this one, but the other one of Ben Johnson during the Olympics. This one will come next. It's a spoiler, sorry. Yeah, can we show the photo of the Olympics? I will explain why I chose this photo to illustrate the work of Romy. We can see in this photo. We will show a slideshow of his work later in the evening, but I wanted to highlight this one because it's a very famous picture we all know, and you will understand at the end of my speech why I made this choice of a sport photo at the Olympics. So it was taken in Seoul, South Korea, 1988, the Olympic Games, the final of the 100-meter sprint. We all remember this event, at least the ones who were born. And it's only one of the very iconic photos that Romy produced during his career. And he captured the moment. He captured what would become one of the biggest sports scandal in history. It was a defining moment of what would become one of sports' great scandals. Myself, I arrived in Bangkok, I didn't know Romy personally. I've heard a lot about him. I knew he was a legend at AFP in the region of Asia. He was one of the founding members and a pillar of the photo department. And on a personal level, I discovered Romy, and we spoke a lot about food. I'm French, so it's one of my favorite topics, of course. And he made me discover some kind of food that I've never seen before in my life. For example, riceberry. I don't know if you people know what riceberry is, but it's some kind of specific Thai black rice, something like that. That's pretty good, but I had never heard of riceberry before, and I had never had any tofu before, or any, I don't know, seeds and nuts that I didn't know ever existed. And I thank him for that, because our diets were very, very, very different. And So that's how we also we developed a relationship, talking about food and exchanging our experiences. And I remember also Romy in the newsroom distributing nuts. He was the main nuts provider of the bureau, and I'm sure he did that also in the family, right? Okay. As I said this morning, Romy was really a rare human being. Kindness, benevolence. He showed many times, and for me, for example, during the coup in Myanmar, he was in Bangkok, and he was always very worried about the team we have there, colleagues. He was always wondering how they are, if we take good care of them. He would write to them, he would try to contact them, and was very always putting other people before himself. And that's something we must remember about him. He was, kind, humble. We all know that. But he also was a fighter, and he was engaged in a very difficult fight, as we all know, and he was leading that fight with determination, grace. I like this word because I think it fits well to him. He would never complain. He would never get into something negative or something that would make you feel uncomfortable. He was so graceful when fighting against this disease, and that's a lesson for all of us. I would like to mention something he told me many times. He would call his children powerful angels. When he would write these updates, he would say, "I have my powerful angels with me," and I think this was really for him helpful. One example of how much Romy was respected and loved was back in July, when suddenly we realized he needed some very urgent blood transplant donation. And really, in a matter of minutes, everybody was calling and say, "Okay, I know someone, I can go. I go now to the Red Cross. I will give my blood, etc." We got like so many people responding, present, being like, "Yeah, I'm here for Romy." So he was updating us, as I just said, about his disease. And a sentence, I was reading his emails today. And he was saying always things gracious like, "I am winning more rounds from my vicious opponent." And he won like so many rounds against this fucking vicious opponent. I would like to now talk about the last lunch I had with him. That's the photo that was spoiled before that you saw. So this picture was taken October 12th. And he was so happy. And for the first time with me, he talked about his career. He talked about his photos, his best memories in the field, his regrets, his dreams of prize. He was opening to me, and I felt this time is maybe different. And it was the last time I had the chance to be with him and spend time with him. And so I would like to finish by what he told me that day about his fight. And we were kind of like joking about, it's not a sprint like Ben Johnson. It's more like a marathon. It's more like something you have to be persistent with, and he was. And what he told me is, this is my Olympic Games, and I want the gold medal. So, you won the gold medal, man.
Thank you, Stefan. I would like now to throw the bow to the hands of Sabrina for the next presentation. And thanks again for the nice words.
Thank you, Mladen. Thank you, Stefan, for the really kind words and the stories. We have a couple of video messages, recordings by peers from AFP, from the Philippine press. And the next segment of our presentation are these videos. So the first video you'll be viewing is from the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines. And the speaker in the video is the FOCAP president, Barnaby Law.
President of the Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines, or FOCAP, and I'm here to express my sincerest and deepest condolences to the family of Tata Romy Gacad. And this is personally from me, as well as I'm representing as well the organization, of course, FOCAP. Tata Romy was a longtime member of FOCAP, and he's considered a legend by many of the younger photojournalists, as well as us reporters in the organization. We didn't really know each other, so I think it's best, we didn't really know each other well, so I think it's best if I read the statement that we released a day or two after he passed away. The Foreign Correspondents Association of the Philippines is profoundly saddened by the loss of one of its longtime members, photojournalist Romy Gacad of Agence France Presse. The consummate correspondent, Romy, was a man of few words who let his images speak the truth. He always executed the perfect composition, whether in the battlefields or in life's sprawling studio, earning him 2 Pulitzer Prize nominations along the way. A mentor to many journalists, Romy taught invaluable lessons and offered a veteran's insight of slowing down and taking stock of the situation and reporting with care. Always mindful that stories and pictures can change lives, Romy was exacting in his standards. He was humble, unassuming, and was the epitome of grace under pressure. While others chose to run, he carried on with measured and calculated steps. We not only lost a great photojournalist in Romy, we also mourn a truly profound individual who offered sound advice to many younger comrades. As we mourn his passing, let us remember his favorite greeting, "Mabuhay ka," and realize that there is much more to live for as we carry on chronicling the news. Mabuhay ka, Tata Romy.
Thank you to FOCAP for that statement. Thank you to Barnaby Law for reading the statement on record. Our next video is coming from Singapore, so very close to the family, very close to my dad. It's AFP Bureau Chief in Singapore, Roberto Coloma, or Bobby Coloma, known to many. And Tito Bobby and my dad go way back. So I'm very happy to present the next video.
Hi, I'm Bobby Coloma, Bureau Chief of AFP in Singapore. I knew Romy Gacad for about 40 years, since our days in campus journalism and in freelancing jobs. We had been together through thick and thin. Romy was a very versatile photographer. He could do everything from sports like Olympics to coup attempts to fashion shoots. And he went on to Jakarta, Yangon, and Bangkok. Romy's favorite expression was "Mabuhay ka," which is Filipino for "May you live long." And Romy will always live long in my heart.
–
Thank you to Tito Bobby. And I heard that the production team behind Tito Bobby's message are Tita Debbie and Carlo. So the whole family, the whole Paloma family, thank you very much for making also my dad part of your family. And our next speaker still hails from the Agence France Press family. And we've got AFP Manila's Ted Aljibe. And they are on Zoom, so we're just locating them and pinning the spotlight before they begin to speak. 1 second.
Hi, Sabrina.
There we go.
Uh, can you hear me? Sorry, I was rushing. When I remember, as we call him Tata Romy because he was older than me, and I was starting as a photographer back in 80s, and I would always see him in the field and kind of trying to emulate him because every time he takes some pictures after the rally, after the protest, I would see his pictures, and I said to myself, how can I duplicate the works of Tata Romy? Few years later, I joined AFP. So we did not talk much with each other, but once in a while, if I go home and when I was in Hong Kong, and we would have a chat and talk about our jobs in AFP, and he was always there to tell me encouraging words and words that would inspire me to work very hard in AFP. He was always like an elder brother to me because he would always give me advice in what to do. Sometimes in life in our job. So even if I was in Hong Kong, I would always once in a while I would call him and talk to him, and he would give me encouragement. Just go on, don't give up. So, and I really am thankful for that, for giving me the chance and the advice and chance to be with AFP. And he really supported me when I joined AFP. Because I remember Eve Shore, our boss before, he said, I spoke to Romy and told him that you are joining AFP. And after a few days, he called me and said, Ted, you are joining us, so welcome. That's all. And then that's how he treated me. He supported me very much.
Thank you, Tito Ted. Thank you po.
Welcome. Also, thank you, Sabrina.
We're happy
Maliliit pa kayo, pero we were still very small when we were talking to each other, and sometimes we would meet in Manila.
Thank you. And because Agence France Press was my dad's home for all of or most of his career, we are also presenting a slideshow of my dad's photographs. This was curated by Mladen, and let's all sit back and admire the work of Romy Gacad one more time. And there are 2 parts to the slideshow, so this is the first part. the photos tell a lot of stories. And we're very happy just to remember this powerful storytelling that Romy Gacad, my dad, was capable of, and to hear more stories about the person behind the lens. I am now turning us over to Sheila Coronel, based in Columbia Journalism School.
Thank you, Sabrina, for giving me this opportunity to speak about Romy. I like seeing your beautiful smile. It reminds me so much of your dad. I first met Romy when we were in college at UP. We were together in the Philippine Collegian, the university newspaper, during the late 1970s. It was martial law, the reign of Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos. We had the younger Imelda, not the one you saw in the picture of Romy recently. The entire country was gagged at that time, but because we were in UP, there were even then already stirrings of dissent and protest. We were young, naive, unformed, but the times made us who we are and the choices we made in our lives. Romy was among the best of our generation, and not just because he was a great photographer, he was, but because in both his professional and personal life, he showed courage, empathy, and integrity. We all ventured into professional journalism at the dawn of the 1980s. In 1981, Marcos officially lifted martial law. And though that was a fiction, there were already some openings. So Romy was working for Who magazine at that time and was able to do stories that were before not possible. We didn't know it then, but the Marcos era was in its twilight. We were a community of journalists in our 20s in the 1980s. It's nice to see many of you here. We were testing the limits of what was possible, facing censorship, covering human rights and many other abuses, reporting on protests, and telling stories that weren't being told in the Marcos-controlled press. Romy and I, and many of you here, were formed in the crucible of martial law. So many people are coming in, sorry. We went through people power and the attempted coups and the upheavals that followed. We would see each other on the streets, in press conferences, in the mountains, and after work at the press club and in seedy bars in Manila, Davao, and Cotabato. I remember Romy falling really sick in Samar. I think this was the time of the killing of Bobby De La Paz, the medical doctor who was gunned down by the military. Romy had been drinking with some of the local guys, a stomach-churning concoction. I believe it was tuba, which is coconut wine, chocolate, and God knows what else. He said he woke up in the morning at the hospital. And that was Romy. He moved quietly in the world, but he took it and drank it all. He experienced the world with an intensity that wasn't always evident when he talked, because Romy was always slow and deliberate in his speech. When Romy went overseas, starting around the late 90s and the 2000s, we happened to be in the same place. He showed me his favorite places. It was always a delight to walk the streets of Yangon or Jakarta and see the city through Romy's eyes. Most of all, I remember Romy's stories. East Timor, the militias were rampaging in the conflict there, how he would develop the negatives in a portable darkroom, scan them and send them via satellite phone. This was the pre-internet days. Iraq, Afghanistan, the horrifying bloodshed, the poppy fields of Afghanistan, the graveyards, the beautiful green-eyed women. He told stories in pictures, like you were looking at the world through his camera lens. Romy was a war correspondent, but he did not act like one. None of the machismo or braggadocio of others. He walked the earth with such courage and grace, but that doesn't mean he didn't feel the pain. Here is what he wrote me in 2010, when he said he wanted to put his photos from Iraq and Afghanistan together in an exhibition or even a book. The title he imagined might be Hell and Beyond. This is what he said in the email. and I am going to read, these are his words. I've been twice in Iraq and Afghanistan, and what I've witnessed has been embedded in my memory. The exhibition would be part of a personal attempt to come to terms with my mental scars, or partly to heal those scars. I imagine it would be like going to a therapy session where you talk about what you've seen, and the more you talk about it, the better you get. It's better to spill it out than keep it in your memories. I'm not trying to find closure for all those bad memories because I think there never will be. I just want to keep the door open and hope the memories will come out. And beyond the door is the garden with beautiful flowers. Just last week, I had successive bad dreams. I saw a tank ramming through my house and firing rounds of ammunition with loud explosion as I ran away with my children. A few days after that, another restless night, a helicopter gunship flying and aiming at me. Then soldiers started shooting and I saw bullets landing in front of me. Something is shaping up and I have a feeling it's for the better. That was Romy. He could relay hope and horror in the same breath. He faced death many times. In the last few years when he was struggling with cancer, he kept his strength and his hope. He imagined the possibility of a garden with beautiful flowers. This garden, or the capacity to imagine the garden, is Romy's gift to all of us. Through the example of his life, Romy showed us what is important and what lives on after we die. Romy's work, of course, will always be there, but so will his humility and his humanity. We could all do with more humility and humanity in our lives, with more Romys in our lives. Romy showed us how to live. He also showed us how to die with courage, dignity, and grace, and with so much love. Bianca earlier read from Rio Almario's poem for Romy. I think it captures Romy more than I can. I would like to read an excerpt from the English translation for those who didn't understand the Tagalog. And this is the part that touched me the most in that poem. He sought to give shapes and shadows in the pictures of his own experiences and dreams. For he is aware, after everything, the purpose of his own existence is based on the intensity of his prosecution of darkness. The prosecution of darkness, the interrogation of light, that was Romy. We are all better human beings because he lived among us. Sabrina, Bianca, and Raha, your dad loved you so much. He talked about you all the time, about the out-of-town trips you took and the adult talks you had about life, loss, and recovery. He was a wise and beautiful man. We were fortunate to have had deep and lifelong friendships with him. We will miss him so much. Mabuhay ka, Romy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you so much for the really, really touching and nice words. I mean, it's unbelievable what you said. I would like now to call here next to me, Claro and Pam, an old friends of Romy, to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Claro Cortez IV from the Philippines. A colleague, I used to be with Reuters, but I'm retired now and based here in Thailand. So I'll just tell what I wrote in my Facebook page. I'll read it for you. Ka Romy, or Tata Romy, as we fondly call him in the Philippines, is a term of respect and an endearment like an older brother. I first met Tata Romy way back in my college days when I was still a campus journalist in the mid-80s at the height of Ferdinand Marcos dictatorship. I was covering the student movement and mass action for the University of the Philippines campus newspaper, the same university where Ka Romy got his degree, and the same campus newspaper where he started. I was also freelancing for the wire agencies and other print media at that time. Even back then, as a newbie, I saw his sincerity and respect not only to me, but to all the journalists in the field. He was fair, very humble, soft-spoken, and hardworking. When I joined another agency, Reuters, he remained the same gentle person, sporting a Ho Chi Minh goatee, and we even became closer as we would be covering the same assignments in Manila and other international events. And it was during the waiting and for the event or the press con to start that I came to know him better. I had covered countless violent demonstrations with him. We inhaled tear gas fumes together. During dispersal operations, when he was named a finalist of the Pulitzer Prize for his iconic Ben Jonson Carl Lewis photograph, I did not see any change, any air, nor bragging from him. He was Romy, the man I knew. We bumped into each other during the Mount Pinatubo eruption and other several international events, ever calm and poised with a ready smile to greet you when he was around. Ka Romy was a proud Filipino, a true visual artist, a willing mentor to young photographers and journalists, a faithful friend to many, and a loving father to Sabrina, Bianca, and Raha. Despite all the accolades, he remained unassuming, low profile, and talked with gentle authority. While he was already struggling with cancer, he still thought of others. His compassion and friendship really struck me the most. Last year, when he learned that I will undergo an open heart surgery, he joined my wife in the home of our friend Nico Sepe and wife Maeve, so she won't be alone while waiting for the news from my heart surgeon on whether my surgery went well or not. It will be 1 year tomorrow. He would text me every now and then and ask me how I was doing, and he would offer a dish called munggong walang aray or moonbeans without pain. It is, he specially prepared it for me because he knew I have a gout. Just 10 days before he passed on, we had a post-birthday celebration for him together with his daughter, Bianca, and my wife, Pami. He was full of life and was talking about his condition, improvement, and was looking forward to going back to work. 2 days later, he texted me that he will meet his bureau chief, Stefan, at a vegetarian restaurant near his office. He told me to come, and he had prepared ampalaya concoction, a bitter gourd concoction, for me. I arrived earlier, and I saw him walking with his cane towards the restaurants. As soon as we sat, he pulled from his bag 2 bottles of green juice just before Stepan arrived, and he introduced me to him. That was our last meeting. Even in sickness, he was concerned of others, always ready to help, a true friend and a kindred spirit. As a battle-hardened photojournalist, he fought to the very end. Farewell, my friend, my brother, mabuhay ka, Romy.
Thank you, Tito Claro. Um, Still with Daddy's friends, we're taking a trip down memory lane because we're going back to the University of the Philippines College of Fine Arts, where my dad went to school just before, I guess, the peak of the martial law period where you couldn't really stay in school and just do academic work. So I would like to introduce Mr. Ernie Enrique or Tats from the UP College of Fine Arts.
Hello, everyone. This is, I don't know what to say, but I wrote a tribute, and it's just a short one. I have known Romy from the early 70s while he was still a student. I'm probably, 10 years older than him. We were never really close, but I felt a mutual admiration for each other. Or probably just me for him. Anyway, what impressed me the most was a photograph he took when he started out in his career. This was during a wake for a fallen hero. While others were busy shooting from the ground, Romy took time to climb the rafters of the chapel to take his photo. That was a standout for me. He knew his angles. I was impressed, and I knew that he will go places. And he did. Truly he did. From a stringer, he went on to become a photographer for different agencies, where eventually he became a chief photographer. He reaped awards and accolades and distinctions for his photographs. But despite this, he still retained his humility. He was a simple human being who continued to be a mentor to the younger generation. He took photographs that evoked a lot of emotions. For this, his humility comes out. I am glad that last year, the college conferred on him its highest award, Alab ng Sining, or roughly Spark of the Arts. Truly, he deserved it for his contribution to his craft. In his acceptance speech, he said, "I take photographs to make us aware of what is happening in the world." And indeed, we became aware. Mabuhay ka, Romy. As we Filipinos usually say, see you in the next life. And hope we take a selfie. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have a question about the selfie. Were you intending to take a selfie with a gadget na like a smartphone, or did you want to use the analog or the digital SLRs?
The last time I had the selfie with Romy was in 1987. So this time, I'll take a selfie with anything, you know. Thank you.
Thank you po. Just because selfies weren't yet invented as a term, but I knew my dad and his friends were already using their big cameras to point and shoot at themselves.
Right, correct.
From here, thank you, sir, for the tribute. We are now hearing from family. So I also wanted to share, my dad, si Romy, was part of the G8. Pero the G8 refers to the Gacad 8, the Gacad siblings, the Maniquis Gacad siblings. The other reference we have for the G8, the Gacad version, is the Walong Supling. And tonight, or this morning, the Walong Supling representative is Tito Lito. So Tito Lito is going to share the Walong Supling story, and I will also be helping him because I have a set of slides that the Walong Supling also prepared. So, Tito Lito, if you can say something so we can spotlight you.
Please bear with me. This is kind of long, okay? But anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In behalf of the Maniquis and Gacad clan, please accept our sincerest thanks and appreciation to AFP and FCCT for sponsoring this commemoration of the life and times of my brother, Romeo Maniquis Gacad, as a distinguished photo journalist. I am Lito Gacad, the seventh child of the 8 children of the late Philippine Army Colonel Bart Gacad Sr. and the late Purificacion Maniquis Gacad. Romy was the 8th and youngest child. Romy was the typical youngest child when we were growing up. He was hyperactive, funny, inquisitive, playful, and always looking for the next adventurous things to do with siblings, cousins, and our neighboring playmates. Just like the rest of the Gacad siblings, he went to a public community school, elementary school, and then to a public community high school. It was at the Jose P. Laurel Senior High School in Project 4, Quezon City, our hometown, where he started his career in journalism. First as a photographer for the Laurel, our school newspaper, in his junior year. Then he became an editor-in-chief in his senior year. The Philippines then was in a state of martial law, so there was nothing really adventurous or out of the ordinary to cover at the time, as most of the student organization was suspended or inactive. The only active student allowed to flourish at the time was the paramilitary junior ROTC, or what we call then as the CAT, or short for Citizen Army Training. Things changed, however, when he was in college. As a junior fine arts student, he was recruited as a photographer for the Philippine Collegian, the official student newspaper of the University of the Philippines in Diliman, by his AFP colleague, Bobby Coloma. It was at the time of student rallies and demonstrations in protest of the martial law regime. And it was this point in time when Romy honed his talent as a photojournalist. After college, he was practically at the right place at the right time. After the former Philippine Senator Benigno Aquino was assassinated in 1983 at the Manila International Airport. And this culminated in the 4 days People Power Revolt in 1986. And it was during this time that where he really was able to fine-tune his talent as an excellent photojournalist. Meanwhile, over the years, we all watched in awe as he excelled in his career, but managed to remain humble. He will take just time to take the best pictures for family gatherings, reunions, funeral, weddings, and baptism. While most of us immigrated to North America, Romy stayed in Manila to take care of our beloved parents, who came back home from the US because of lingering illness. He was our unifying brother, rendering the most attentive care to our sick parents. In later years, as Romy worked overseas assignments, he maintained a strong bond with the family through family reunions. We relied for him, as always, as official photographer of the extended Maniquis and Gacad clan. We take pride in holding onto each other through latest apps, technique, gadgets, with siblings through video calls, especially when our eldest brother, Gerardo Maniquis Gacad, got sick also with cancer. And then throughout Romy's adventure with his fight for cancer, he was the most influential in this journey of healing. To describe Romy in a few words for the family, Romy was the most selfless man we know in the family. And basically, he lived his life as a man for others. This is what he was, and this is what he leaves us, a family legacy. To summarize Romy's life, let me just read this poem of Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken, which aptly described the life he led. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could have traveled both. And be one traveler, long I stood and looked down as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for what the passing there had warned them, really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I should be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I, Romy, took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Thank you all. Good night, and hopefully we could see most of you in the future. To Romy, Godspeed. Vaya con Dios, mi bueno amigo. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito Lito, for the sharing, and thank you to the Walong Supling na they prepared the photographs. So you saw the Gacad Maniquis family throughout the years, and we're very happy also to share that part of our family with you. At this point, I am presenting a music performance by a Manila-based photog. So we have Tito Rolex de la Peña from EPA and Vina, and they are singing, or they have agreed to let me or let AFP and let the family share the video of a song that they dedicated to Romy Gacad. Please, FCCT team, let's present the video.
Alright, Papa Romy! Papa Romy! Okay, para sa ito, Papa Romy.
can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Papa Romy, wag mo masyado papagalitan si Jay pag nagkita kayo, ha? Papa Romy, maraming salamat. Mahal na mahal ka namin.
Was Vina Vidal Vicente on vocals and Rolex de la Peña on the guitar. And I wanted to let that sink in for a little bit and invite everyone to just take a big breath in and just let the breathing be calm and steady. And now I would like to go on to the next part of our program. So we have a lot more stories, and this will be a collection of stories still from friends, colleagues, people very important to the family, people very important to Romy. And this next segment of the program, we will be hearing from the Photojournalist Center of the Philippines and also with ABS-CBN News. So we've got Mr. June Sepe. So Tito June, if you can say something so we can find you on Zoom, the spotlight.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
I'm supposed to Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Hello.
Okay. We seem to have encountered technical difficulties. I knew it was gonna be too easy if no one dropped out of the call.
Hello?
Ayan, I hear you.
I'm back.
Can you repeat?
Oo, ngayon pa talaga nag-drop yung ano.
Saktong-sakto po.
Nag-return siya ulit. Ayan. Sige. I'm supposed to represent the PCP here. It's the local organization of photojournalists in the Philippines. But I'm now just a regular member. Although I'm the immediate past chair, yung 2019, 2020. So I don't think what I will say will be sanctioned. Then on the other hand, I'm supposed to represent then the young, being the generation that followed Romy, sila Bullet, sila Eric. But with my set of locks looking like David Longstreet's, I'm sure you know him there at the FCCT, David Longstreet. I don't think I can be mistaken for the young anymore. But I think it was my posting about the Lord that eventually got picked up by Rappler, ABS-CBN, ANC Channel, and other publications that got me my spot here. So why Lord? Nung nag-uumpisa pala, in English, when I was just starting, I was a student in the University of the Philippines that was starting 1985. There was a bookshop down at Vincent Sol, that's the student center. And there was it's there that I reviewed the works of yung idols, like there was James Nactway, Susan Maicelas, Eugene Richards. But syempre, I wanted, being a nationalist, being in UP, I wanted a Filipino idol, a Filipino, someone to look after local photojournalist. And there comes Sir Galahad. It's a play on his name, Sir Gacad. That's why the Lord. So Sir Galahad, even when I was a student back in UP, I was aware of his works, not really just the news works, but I've been seeing him in publications like Time and Newsweek. But it was one of his works na before he got into AFP that I was really enamored with his works, yung Retrato at Recuerdo. Those are yung in English, that's poetry and photographs. And that's the work of Rio Alma, the one whose works was read a while ago. It's national artist. And imagine the national artist partnering with Sir Romy Gacad to illustrate his words in photographs. So even back then, there was something lyrical about his photographs. Something, not just the obvious content of the photo. And so, being in the campus paper myself, yung collegian, so we had a kindred spirit siguro. He was also a Philippine collegian photographer, and I was then, back in 1985. So, we also did a section in the collegian na we called it Poetry in Photo. So that was largely the influence of Sir Romy Gacad, because even back then, even if it was just a campus paper, photography, I always thought that photography should be valued more by a publication. And yun nga, that's the influence of Romy with his Retrato and Recuerdo and the rest of his works. May kasabihan nga kami noon, us young ones then, had a saying, and even now, some of the young ones use that. Oh, rumoromi ka, meaning if you're shooting something like the main news, like a rally or a press conference, you're doing a Romy. Rumoromi ka, meaning you're trying to find a more interesting angle rather than just the obvious. So, yun yung naiwan na legacy ni Sir Romy, na hindi lang basta straight news, ang news, but you can find something lyrical, even like, that's what I said in my post, yung hindi lang yung straightforward news, but even in war, tignan na naman yung time cover. It's a lyrical photograph. It's not just news, di ba? So that's the influence of Sir Romy. But again, in my post, I said, more than the photography, it's his treatment of colleagues. And colleagues here is a big term for Sir Romy. Na of being fair to everyone, newcomer or veteran or mainstream, freelancer or alternative. Iba yung treatment niya. It differentiates him. Hindi lang basta yung karango niya yung colleague. Lahat kayo colleague, whether you're a young one, an independent, a freelancer, colleague lahat yung tingin niya. So, giving away films to photographers in need, the young ones. So, mga benefactors sila ng mga yagit, the poor ones, the poor photographers. Si Bullet, yung barkada niya, ano rin yan, namimigay din. Actually, mas galante si Bullet sa film. Buong prick ng Ectapress yung pinamimigay ni Bullet. Si Romy, parolyo-rolyo lang. But more than the film, it's really the way he treated you. So when I was starting, freelancer pa lang ko, it was so nandun yung sopa ng AFP. There was a sopa in AFP and upo ka roon, bibigay mo yung rolyo sa kanya, and they will process that. And it was his calm demeanor. He will say in his usual voice, okay naman yung kuha mo. He will look at the loop. And then, bababa ulit. Tapos, may gagawin siya iba, magpa-process, magpapadala ng litrato niya. O sisilipin niya ulit. Tapos may sasabihin siya ulit. So, it was his calm demeanor and the nuggets of wisdom he was sharing while doing this. Imagine niyo, yung pag sinasabi ni Romy, buhay ka. Iba yung dating sa'yo, the baritone voice and the nuggets of wisdom nga that he shares. That when he gives back the negatives to you, even when he didn't use anything, parang ang dami mong iuwi when you go back home and he didn't use your photographs, you still have a lot when you go home, a lot of takeaway when you go home after coming from. So it was mostly in Reuters and the AFP that I tried submitting as a freelance, but eventually I worked with AP, with Bullet. But this is not Bullet's obituary yet, so that story is for another time. Joking lang, ha? I'm not saying you should follow Romy right away. Pero ito, sabi nga ng misis ko when Romy passed away, bakit all the accolades are pouring in now when he is already dead? Parang alam nyo naman, you know that he had a cancer. Why didn't you tell him then that all these words, these accolades, why didn't you tell him right away? Para niya naman nabasa. But I'm sure he's reading all the accolades, all the posts that we posted about him. And ang hirap kasi magsabi sa kanya noon, nung birthday niya nga, binati ko pa siya. Hindi ko malamang how I phrase yung be healthy. So sabi ko, sana malusog ka. And sumasagot pa siya, labanan pa natin to. And that was just barely a month ago, di ba? So, ang hirap din naman magsabi, Lord, ikaw yung pinakamagaling. Parang magbibigay ka na ng obituary. When he was actually fighting the big C and talagang ang ganda ng laban niya. Nakikita mo sa mga post niya. So yun, I don't know if, yun nga, delayed na yung mga reactions natin, yung mga accolades natin, but I'm sure even the family and him watching from heaven is really relishing all that we're saying about him, because it's all honest, it's all sincere. Okay, let me end with hindi ko pala ma-share dito, but as I'm using the phone, wait mayroon bang reverse camera? Sorry Ayan, look at this photograph of him. This is our youngest. By the way, si Romy is our co-parent in our school. Si Eli at saka si Raha are classmates in Community of Learners. So co-parent namin siya. But this one is our youngest, si Emilio. He's a special child. Pero look at the way Romy treats Mio. I can understand if he will relate to Eli because he's a photographer also. He idolizes also Sir Romy, and they can talk about photography. But si Mio, he doesn't know anything about photography, so he doesn't know Romy. And Romy cannot impart wisdom of nuggets about photography kay Mio. But look at look at the humanity in Romy. Naiiyak ako. Look at him relating to Mio. Parang human na human. And the way he holds Mio, look at that. Parang tuwan-tuwa siya. Again, co-parent namin siya kay Raha. And hindi nga siya co-parent namin kay Mio. But yun nga, it's this humanity talaga in Romy that's outstanding. More than his photography. Of course, photography, we all know that. But it's Romy's humanity that makes him such a great person. So, salute, Sir Romy. Sorry, medyo mahaba, but I wanted to really share yun lang. Spontaneously what's on my mind. So, ito lang ang pinipare ko. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tita June. For the
Okay,
Stefan, yes.
Yes, it's Stefan here speaking. We are going to take a short break, like 10 minutes, so we can stretch our legs and for us here, have some food a little bit, and then we will continue with the program. So stay tuned. Just like 10 minutes intermission. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. We're inviting everyone on Zoom to take a break too.
Hi, Ina. You're doing good. Very good.
And while we're taking a break, I just also wanted to say on Zoom we have our family.
Ina.
Hi, Tito Iping.
Okay, everyone, we are back. We'll ask people in the room to come and sit again, and we will go through the rest of the program. We still have Some very interesting testimonies to come, very emotional, and photos to see. And so please take a seat. And Sabrina, are you with us? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Stefan.
The floor is yours.
Welcome back, everyone. We've been having a chat here on Zoom. So up next, we have really good friends and colleagues of Romy. And the first people that I'm going to introduce are Dina and Kamal Jufri in Indonesia. So if they could say hello so we can find them on Zoom and give them the spotlight.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tita Dina.
Hi, Ina. I think Tito Kemal is somewhere.
I found you.
Okay. Did he sound off yet? Ah, there you go. You have to unmute.
Yep.
Ah.
Can you hear me now, Ina?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Tito Kamal.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share a few words about our experiences with your dad. Do you still want to say something or
Yes, please.
or yeah. All right. So to borrow and paraphrase a few lines from a balladeer song, give him thorns and he'll find roses. Give him sand and he'll find the sea. Give him rain and he'll find rainbow. Romy finds good in everything and takes it a step further by also finding good in almost everyone he comes across. A gentle soul who thrives in the tranquility of nature. Romy covered wars, chaos, and calamities. Humor came naturally to him and was never forced. At times, he does not even intend to make us laugh, but we end up cracking up all together. The years that Romy was assigned as chief photographer of Jakarta's AFP Bureau gave Dina and I the gift of a beautiful friendship with him that we can only call a blessing, as he touched our lives like no one did and became a major part of it as friend, brother, advisor, colleague, and above all, family. I called him Pare, and he was my wife's, Dina's, utol. With Romy, we literally climbed mountains together, including volcanoes, crossed oceans and seas, experienced daily life week in and week out for many years. Movies, lunches, dinners, massages, all sorts of trips and escapades. Our favorites included climbing Mount Bromo to document the week-long Hindu ritual of Kasada for 2 consecutive years, batik hunting, and meeting up with batik artisans and late-night culinary escapades. It will take me all night to recount all our memorable times together, but we were together those 6 years, through thick and thin, happiness and sadness, sickness and health, difficulties and victories. It almost sounds like a marriage, wow. During the years when he was assigned in Myanmar and Bangkok, we stayed constantly in touch and updated each other with our respective lives on a regular basis. We were with him during his first hospital episode at the beginning of his journey in his battle with cancer. Then he did not know yet that that was what it was. as befitting Romy's character, he never wants to be a burden to anyone and downplays his physical discomforts. And thankfully, we decided to stick around the next 48 hours for we almost lost him we almost lost him then many years ago. He fought hard and well to get an extension of life. Throughout the last 8 months or so, he was adamant about making sure everything is in order because I do not know when I will go. All the way through August and September, he was doing just that, but still cheered us up by saying he's planning to come over to Jakarta in the coming months for the batik portrait session with us to complete his batik photos for his exhibition. Over the years, we knew him. Over the years, we knew him and he knew us on a level that there were no secrets between us. An honor my wife Dina and I will always cherish in this lifetime and the hereafter. I will close this with a recurring vivid memory that always brings a smile to both Dina and I. Whenever people say that Romy was such a gentleman, so cool, calm, humble, and zen, to which he readily replies with a grin, gentleman but wild. In Filipino, they say magino pero bastos. So that's, he said to us, in Filipino we say magino pero bastos. You may not have been a complete saint, pare, but I believe you are now a shining light of pure energy on the other side. Dina and I will miss you immensely, and we promise to always be here for Ina, Bianca, and Raha, your angels in this lifetime. Till we meet again on the other side, pare. Romy's last words, which he texted to us about 6 weeks ago, was, I love you and Dina with all my heart. You are my brother and sister in heart and soul. Mabuhay ka, Romy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like now to invite Johanna Son to say a few words. Or no, sorry, I break. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
You didn't finish. Yes, sorry, excuse me.
We also still have Dina. So, hi, Tita Dina.
Hi, everybody. Well, my husband Kamal pretty much relayed the message from both of us, but I just want to give us a sort of a window to Romy's mind and soul the past few weeks. He sent a personal message because, like Kemal said earlier, we were in touch about something that was very important to him that had to be done in Jakarta. So if I can just have a few minutes to read it. He said, it's so beautiful to start the day reading your truly touching message. You and I are aware how this universe works, where the great divine spirit is there above us, constantly watching and looking after us. And I can say, we are firmly connected through our constant devotion and faith to the Almighty. When others are lost, aimless in their lives, and totally disconnected. In every life challenge, I never lose hope. I know all the hard work that needs to be done and always do my best to reach that goal. That's when miracles starts to happen. And it can only come from Divine Almighty. Hopefully by next week, he said this a few weeks ago, I will start feeling much better, and I will take care of the business that we're talking about. And he ended it in Filipino, buong pusong pagmamahal sa iyo at kay Kemal, kapatid ko kayo sa puso at damdamin. I just wanted to share those beautiful last words that he sent us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tita Dina, for sharing.
Thank you
I think our family and friends are very comforted by those words. All right, now I turn us back to FCCT. Laden? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting before. Now, Miss Jonathan, please.
Okay, good evening to everybody, both here and wherever you are. My printer broke down, so I ended up having to read this from the phone, which I don't like to do. But anyway, so much has been said, I think, for over the past week now, in various articles and reflections about Romy and his life. And I was thinking today, what if, as a fellow journalist, I was to write an article about him? What would I say? What would my lead be, maybe? And I think I would say that I have been struck by how, although so many people have spoken of the quality of his photojournalism and his creativity, many more remembered him most of all, for his kindness, decency, and humility. And I think his respect for everyone around him, whoever the person was. In a sense, it didn't matter to him. He was just like that to everybody. From the many articles also have been written and I have been reading from different places, I began to how do you say, to put some order in some dates around, like when I got to know Romy and things like that, because I also don't remember, some have been like over some time. So I have now pieced together that I guess I met him somewhere in 1985, and I guess he had just started with AFP, and I was finishing journalism in the same university as the one he went to UP. And I remember I was spending time in the AFP office when the wire was still literally a wire coming out like this in newsprint, in mimeograph sheet, right, the brown paper. And because I was I was reading, I can't remember exactly, but over a period of time, I was getting information from my thesis, which I remember was around the portrayal of the New People's Army, which is the Communist Party's rebel army in the Philippines, the portrayal of the NPA through wire reports like AFPs. So that's why I was spending time there. And I think, if I remember right, I actually did my internship at AFP as well. So, and then I was remembering, I remember this tall guy, and he would be around the office, always with his camera. And I know that, of course, Romy walked, but the way he walks, to me, was like he loped. He didn't walk. He had this, I don't know how to do it, he struck me as a guy who, remember, I was still a student, I would see the whole people, everybody in the bureau, and he struck me as someone who, like, was not flustered by much. And at that time, my idea of a journalist was that you get, which I do after I joined news, you do become, adrenaline, and you become, kind of agitated in a way. But to me, it was quite, like balanced like this, right? Okay, so, and many people have called him soft-spoken. We've heard the adjective several times. But I think, I was telling Bianca that to me, I think I would like to call him mild-mannered. It was just his way, I think, to let his work and his treatment of the people around him speak for themselves. In the world of news, Romy was an example, I think, of a true blue journalist who was not driven by ego and who saw himself as a storyteller and not the story. And he didn't need to be someone in the limelight, and he didn't need to have fans. Wearing my editor's hat, I think it's important to point to another legacy-setting side of his work, which to me is important. I think his creative work was a contribution to seeing media professionals from Southeast Asia and what we say the third world thrive in international news spaces. Moreover, I think journalists like him were able to shape the narrative of stories from their own region beyond the stereotypical view of news as having to be or expected to be sad or bad from this part of the world before it made it to the headlines. In 2009 or so, as far as I could tell, Romy was also a mentor, like giving feedback in a training workshop we had that included photojournalists. So the group of the journalists were from the 6 Mekong countries, and they would present, and then people like Romy would give their feedback. I think some of the pictures later will show some of him there. That was a long time ago, and then I before that I would see him in coverage here and there, the usual spaces. But I was also, by sometime I had also moved here. I next saw him in 2017 after he was flown here from Yangon with serious health problems, and I remember seeing his post actually on Facebook about being here in Bamrungrad, and then I said, "Oh, I think I need to text Romy. I mean, I can't be here and not text Romy." So I texted him, and I think that's where I met him again after such a long time, and I first met Bianca. I remember I asked him, "Romy, what do you want to eat? Can I bring you something?" And he said, "Khao man kai," which is chicken rice. So I brought him chicken rice from Ari. So since he moved here, a group of us with his kids have been meeting regularly, Claro as well, and Pami. Usually it's around eating, talking about the rice berry and the nuts and the seeds and the non-dairy milk and stuff like that. And like where we could get them and where was nice and some new places to try. And also, yes, we talked about life. Actually, he didn't talk much about work, really. I mean, it would get mentioned in passing, but he never kind of like, went into a whole spiel about these things. At times, he would invite us over for a home-cooked meal in his place. So I remember when we went to see him a few days ago, when it was clear that things weren't so good anymore. So when I spoke to him, I called it, I said that we are your, what did I say? We are your Bangkok family. And I was reading one of his notes, and he had his own term for it. He said, "This is my extended family." This group, that's how he called it. As a friend, if not, I mean, so we set aside the journalist thing for a while. I somehow feel that although his work remained an important part of him, Romy, I think, had also expanded the lens of his life to include other things, to include sorting things out inside him, of himself, and with himself. Perhaps Romy turned his photographer's gaze inward in this last maybe year or two, focusing on living with his chronic condition and working on getting back into balance. It's a conversation that maybe 5 years ago, my guess, 10 years ago, maybe he wouldn't have been having. But Romy, circa Bangkok, was very much into nature bathing, right? He had discovered Inyagar yoga, right? And that's why I was saying that, yeah, I think he was at that point. What was I? So I was saying that, yeah, perhaps he turned his photographer's gaze inside and was working on that to get some of the balance in him back. That balance, after all, is what the definition of healing is. And we talked quite a bit about that. From the way he spoke, I think he looked at this. I know that he was using words that were, how do you say, referring to the cancer as more like war, right? But I also think that he was actually, in many ways, living with it, because it also had been like a number of years. So I think he saw this as his assignment, as his major life assignment. No longer a photo shoot, but he was, in his words, in quotes, intensely focused on, right, getting his balance back. With that, let me share with you a phrase that he had used in a text some days ago. He said, I will try to ape the Romy voice, I can't, but he said, "Forward and forward, Joe. Our healing journey continues," he typed. I think he had only recently discovered emoticons on the phone, because suddenly he began writing with emoticons left and right. I forgot to ask them. Yeah, so after he put the forward and forward or healing journey continues, he ended it with, the prayer emoticon, the one that's like this, and then he closed it with a rainbow, which I think is a good point to stop. So thank you, Romy. I also said thank you to him because I think a lot of the last few years have been quite something because of his generosity and I think bringing everybody together, quite something, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for sharing so much about the Thailand side of Daddy's life. At this point, we also have someone very close to the family, and she's also going to be speaking from Zoom. And our next guest is Waya Araos Wijanko, and a lot of our family's memories have been built in her two restaurants, formerly Kiss the Cook and then Gourmet Gypsy. So everybody presenting Miss Waya Araos Wijanko.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Sabrina, for asking me to speak tonight. Tito Romy was actually my dad's friend from forever. So I knew him from childhood. He used to come to the house a lot. And I'm the daughter of Jerry Arauz. And my dad is not the easiest friend to have. I know there's a lot of people who have had falling outs with him, came back together, fell out again, and but Tito Romy was always the constant. Because he's very chill, he's not egotistic at all. So they've had a very long and very continuous friendship throughout the years. When my dad passed on, I said the only thing I really inherited from him was his friends. So I see a lot of people here who were my dad's friends and who became my friends as well. In 2014, I think, or 2016, I went to Indonesia for work, and Tito Romy was there, and in fact introduced me to Dina and Kamal. I met them there. Hi, Dina. And that was when I guess I started the relationship with Tito Romy as more collegial rather than as uncle, because he was my dad's friend. He introduced me to batik. I learned a lot about it. We went to a lot of restaurants in Jakarta. He introduced me to people who could help me with the work I was doing in Indonesia. And I guess also that was the time I got to know Sabrina, Bianca, and Raha again. The past few Christmases, we've adopted Sabrina in our home, and I also spent quite a bit of time with Bianca in Jakarta. So our family's lives have been enmeshed, and the loss of Tito Romy was, such a. I remember clearly a trip I took with my dad to Saigon, and everywhere we walked, and he would see a Ho Chi Minh poster, si Romy Gacad. Si Romy Gacad. It was just hilarious. And eventually we took a picture of him with, he wanted the picture of him taken with a poster of Ho Chi Minh, because he said, it really looks like Romy. So I posted that picture when Tito Romy passed on, and it still cracks me up to remember how my dad really valued him. And I'm really honored to have inherited him from my dad, not just as an uncle, but also as a friend. So hugs to you, Sabrina and Bianca and Raha, and know that our home is always open to you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you, Waya. Chef Waya, thank you.
Love you.
Love you too. Thank you. All right. Now we're transitioning more to the, if I may say, younger generation. And I have got my cousin up next. My cousin and I grew up together, and I was so touched when she sent me I offered the family a general open invitation to speak. And my cousin was one of the first to send me a message that they wanted also to share. So everybody, I would like to introduce Annabelle Gacad Fletcher.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name is Annabelle Gacad Fletcher. This is my dad, Tony, and my mom. I'm right here with my mom, Menchi. I wrote a little something for Tita Romy over this last week, and I would like to share it with you all. This week, I have read so many beautiful tributes to Tita Romy from his esteemed colleagues all across the globe. It's clear that he's impacted so many lives and that his mark on the world will not be forgotten. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all the kind words and all of your condolences. This past week, I have been looking at many of Tita Romy's pictures that are publicly available, while I long to find that connection back to him. From his award-winning photos from the Olympics, to capturing Iraq and the Afghanistan conflict, it's a very special and a very unique feeling to feel connected to history through family. And speaking of family, I think that's the connection that I'm missing most during this time. I've absolutely loved everyone's tributes to Tita Romy. And while I've loved the spotlight from many of his peers, I thought I could share from my heart what it feels like to have him as an uncle. Well, how many people are very familiar with his work that have been on magazines and have won many awards. My favorite pictures are the ones he took of family. Every year, I look forward to his New Year's photo that he takes with Sabrina, Bianca, and Raha with the fireworks. It breaks my heart that there will not be a 2022 Romy Gacad New Year's Eve photo, but I'm sure his family will find a way to celebrate the spirit of that, because those are the kind of children that he raised. I appreciated so many little things that Tita Romy would do for his family. Every month, he would always write a birthday tribute to family members who have a birthday that month. I always looked forward to reading what he had to say and loved that he found a way to celebrate across the distance. Everyone will always talk about his pictures, but his words always had such warmth. Reading those always felt like a nice big hug from far away. Whenever we got the chance to catch up, he would always show like his full interest in whatever had our attention at that time. I remember one trip back to the Philippines, and he noticed that I was blogging about it. I was a teenager then, and teenage me, I was so surprised that someone like Tita Romy would even show interest in what I was writing. But that's how he was. That's how Tita Romy was. He was there for family. He stayed humble and down to earth. But somehow he managed to elevate you to his level whenever you spent time with him. He always found a way to inspire those around him. And the way he inspired people has really shown through in all of your tributes, in all of your kind words. It's really been an honor listening to everyone's tributes today and reading everything that everyone has written this past week. We really did read them, and we really do appreciate them. And then I realized that there are so many of you that have known him for so much longer than I've been alive. And that is such a blessing. That's such a blessing of time to have known him for that long. And I was a little jealous. I'm gonna admit that some of you had so much time with him. But then I realized I have a different gift of time from him. For those who don't know me, my name is Annabelle. I grew up at the Project 4 complex with Atina, Bianca, and Raha. And this was a very precious gift. He was there for me as I grew up. As I watch my children growing up now, I realize how special and precious that time was with him. I am so lucky. I'm very fortunate to have had such wonderful childhood memories involving Tito Romy. Many of you will see the events that he covered and the places that he's been to and think of his pictures. I think of like the Olympics, I think of the toys and pasalubong he would bring back to his family from these events. Many of us are wearing the batik and the scarves that he gifted to us. And that's the kind of person that he was. So thank you, Tito Romy. I can't wait to see what you have waiting for us when I see you on the other side. Mabuhay ka.
Thank you, Abeng, for the touching tribute. I miss you. Hi, Tito Don and Tito Menchi. Thank you. And at this point, we still go by the young at heart. And I would like to call on Tito Bullet Marquez. So if you can say something so I can find you on Zoom. Yes, I see you. And you are now co-host. Okay. Hi, Tito Bullet.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, North America. Good afternoon, maybe somewhere. At first, I was hesitant to speak because everybody has already shared their own memories of Romy. But I figured, upon seeing John Seppe's tribute, I figured I should speak. I'm sharing some photos, which, which I got from some friends from Seoul, from maybe, I stole from Ben Razon, so please bear with me. I hope I won't get sued for this. Anyway, let me just read my thoughts. This pandemic has brought us together to reconnect with each other through Romy's passing. It's somewhat bittersweet. Maybe God really has his way to gather us together through Romy. On the other hand, we mourn Romy as he departs for an eternal bliss with God. I have started my friendship with Romy in 1976 when we were in college in UP Diliman. We were glued to each other with our penchant for camera and photography. While in college, we both were staffers of the university paper. As everybody knows, it's the Philippine Collegian. Though in different times, it was the height of activism. So we never ran out of events to cover. Sometimes I would sleep over at their house, and his brother Lito would attest to this. I became part of his family. He would be a regular customer at the photo shop owned by my brother-in-law in Cubao, Quezon City here in the Philippines. And it became his favorite place along with our college barcadas. After college, we kept our friendship and our passion. We would contribute to Who magazine, The Review, Celebrity magazine, tabloids, etc. Slowly, we were making inroads to mainstream newspapers. Eventually, we had this cohesive group of 5, Bobby Coloma, Melvin Calderon, and the late Mike Yab. And we would have a yearly Christmas reunion, courtesy of Bobby Coloma. Then came Ninoy's assassination, and we were exposed to hard news journalism. On the professional level, I was hired by AP, and he joined the AFP. And the rest as well, we call it is history. Romy is well loved by everyone, especially budding photojournalists. Soft-spoken, he loves to interact with colleagues in that he rarely goes home while the sun is still up. He doesn't compete with other wire service photographers, and he takes his own time that sometimes we would call him Speedy Bagal Romy, or in English, Speedy Slowly Romy. He was a very meticulous guy, a perfectionist, and had a unique style in photojournalism that is subtle, poignant, and full of emotions. My dear Romy, you may have left us in so short a time, but your images will be in our hearts forever. Thank you for the 45 years of friendship. Rest now, my brother, my friend, my bosom buddy, compadre, Nino, and colleague. We love you. To Bree, Bianca, Raha, and the whole Gacad clan, your loss is also my loss, our loss. Your grief is also my grief, our grief. Thank you. Mabuhay ka, Romy.
Thank you, Tito Bullet, for the touching.
Before that,
And Tita Beth.
a few years ago, after Jakarta, Romy gave this to me as a Christmas present, and I still keep it. And it will be here forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito Bullet. I'm seeing some of the family wave the scarves around. My dad had a signature scarf around his neck. Yeah. I always just thought that it's for the sweat, so when you go out and cover, right? But yes, the fashion statement that it has become. So at this point, we have another set of photos that we wanted to share, and still of my dad's work, still of Romy Gacad's work. So I am turning us back to FCCT in Thailand for the slideshow. Thank you. Thank you to Mladen for again putting the photos together. And I also wanted to invite Mladen back to the stage because it's his turn to speak. So everybody, we've got Mladen Antonov, and he's the AFP Bangkok photo chief and soon to be AFP Asia photo chief.
Yeah, hello. I know we're pretty long time. It's already took all these speeches, but I'll try to be fast. I just want to give you one number. The number is 28,000. 28,000 are the photos that are currently in the digital archive of AFP. And this is just from 1996 onward. And there are 10 years before that that are still in our votes in negatives of pictures of Romy. That makes more than 30,000 of photos. This is a universe of photos. This is a metaverse, or it's incredible amount of pictures, an incredible amount of events that Romy witnessed and shared with us. And I just want to think a little bit of what was inside the head of Romy. Because after witnessing so many misery, tragedies, happy moments, even cruelty, and all this, I don't want to think what scars this leaves in the soul of a person witnessing all this. I don't want to think what kind of demons were visiting him during his nightmares and during the nights. But it seems he found a way to battle all this and to come every morning quiet, nice, smiling. It's not easy. My colleagues know how it is, and we had colleagues that become drug addicts, colleagues that become alcoholics, some adrenaline junkies, or just are somewhere in some ditches around the world. But Romy keeps saying, Romy keep human being, Romy keep one of the most beautiful human beings that you can meet. And trust me, people tend to talk nice things for the people who are not anymore with us. But I think Romy, it's a kind of a person that you don't have to twist and to change your conscience in order to say good words about him. There is the words come out of the heart, and I think thanks to you guys, the family of Romy, and thank you to maybe thanks to the religion he joined deeply, and he appreciates deeply, that helps him be maybe a Romy that we know and that we were facing every day in the office with a calm, sometimes slow, but that was the slow Romy, we all know, but it was a real pleasure. It was fantastic. I know Romy from his pictures for maybe 30 years. I met him 2 years ago. I was extremely happy to meet him after seeing so many of his pictures, because we were sharing at the time, we were talking, we were looking at clippings, and that was some of his pictures. But I would like to talk more about, as I said, this PTSD that it's modern days now we talk about, the post-traumatic stress disorder, so-called, that affects so many of our colleagues. And Romy, he was using the words collecting miles, like air miles. Every time when you go on a place like this, you collect air miles. And I think Romy was not gold member, he was a platinum member of this Miles Club. And really, a lesson I learned from him, to be humble, to be. I'm not so humble, but that's. I'm trying. I'm getting the lesson. I got the lesson, and I will try. And really, thanks for the life lesson we got. And even people that, you know, you go to the office and say, okay, it hurts me this, it hurts me that, and in a moment you said, oh, what? No, I should stop talking, because in front of you have a person who is fighting incredible fight for his life, and you are start complaining about hurting your shoulder or hurting your back or neck or something, and you said, no, just stop. There are much more hard things and terrible things. So thanks for the great lessons to Romy, and hope you listen to this. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mladen. Indeed, it's a challenge to be a witness and a scribe and a photojournalist for all the atrocities that can happen in the world, and still make space to care, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones, your friends and colleagues. And I just wanted to say also, it was probably all right for you to complain about your back pain, because my dad would have assisted you somehow or recommended you a green smoothie for that. At this point, we made a little segment that asks some friends and peers of Romy about what he was doing in the photo, because we've seen a lot of his photos already, and we've already heard a lot of the little details of his life, his challenges, his adventures. So we wanted to be very particular about some stories, just because some, of course, photos speak a lot of words. So at this point, I would like to look for Tito Jason Gutierrez, the first person who is talking to us about what Romy was doing in some of the photos that Jason Gutierrez shared. There we are. Let me just share my screen. Hi, Tito Jason.
Hi, hello. Good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, that photograph was taken in Afghanistan. First, I'd like to say that I used to be a journalist for nearly 2 decades with AFP. I was often the storm chaser and bullet dodger for the text side, while your dad, Tata Romy, was the photojournalist tasked to put out matchers for my stories. And I tell you, often the photos spoke the entire story, and I felt like just a caption writer most of the time. That particular picture was taken in the, sometime in the mid 2000s. It was we were on a coverage in Arghandab Valley in Kandahar in Afghanistan. It was the religious heartland of that country. It was my second tour there, and this time I was paired with, of course, your legendary father, Romy. We were with a forward operating base with the 1st Battalion, 67th Armored Regiment of the US Forces. Once when we were out with the troops on a foot patrol, we fell way behind with one soldier acting as our rear guard sweeper. Tata Romy, as many of you has already said, was slow, but it was not because he was just like that. He was built as a person that would observe. That was deliberate. While many or the others are worried, Tata Romy was very calm. He once told me that, relax, see the sunset, listen to the birds, because, there is art in life, even in war. That we were in Afghanistan to record life because we want to understand peace. And, I wasn't new to war coverage, but for that one single moment when the sun was about to set in the horizon and there was a crack of gunfire in the distance, I understood more the meaning of our purpose as war correspondents. And to this day, I would often think about that when out on difficult coverages, even if I'm no longer with AFP. Thank you so much, Romy.
Thank you, Tita Jason, for sharing also. Um,
Thanks.
Thank you. I also wanted to share, I also wanted to call on next Tara Yap.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me right?
Yes, we can hear
All
you.
right. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Tara Yap. I'm with Manila Bulletin right now, based in Iloilo. But there was a point in time I was a photojournalist, so I met your dad. He was sent here in Guimaras when there was the first oil spill disaster. That was sometime August of 2006. So at that time, I just became the new photo correspondent for AFP. And of course, I knew your father's work. And I have to be honest, I was actually scared when he called, because here was somebody you read about, you practically just, research his work. And here he was calling and he's like, oh, pupunta ako dyan, can you do this? So he asked me to buy a rectangular aquarium. And at first I didn't really know what he's gonna do with it. So I bought the aquarium, and then from Iloilo, we proceeded to Guimaras. He wanted to take pictures of like the socio-economic impact of the oil spill, particularly on the side of tourism. So here he was. Yeah, I was like, well, what's he gonna do with this thing? And then when he put the aquarium like at the table, and then he was like, give me the duct tape. So I gave him the duct tape, and then he sealed all of the four sides of the duct tape. And then, kasi we were at this parang resort, and then he went to the beach area, and then he told me, he's like, I told you to buy this aquarium because I didn't want to spend money on underwater, housing for a camera. So I was like, amazed, given the fact that here he was, some guy with this really big name in Philippine photojournalism, and he's basically doing this. And I'm like, I was like, oh my God, he's like, here's somebody who's larger than life for me at that time. And then he did that. And I kind of like just sat there, and I was like, I observed him. And your dad didn't really talk much. But during that time, I learned that, there's some things that when, let's say, for example, after that, we went to another place, and then there were people who evacuated this village because of the toxic fumes from the bunker fuel. And the lone barangay official, the village official there, he told us, oh, everybody left. And then Sir Romy was just standing there at this basketball court. And then me and I think it was Ed Gumban of the Philippine Star, we went back to this vehicle that we were renting, because we thought there was no photos there, no photos to be taken. But Sir Romy was standing there like 20, 30 minutes later. This family emerged, and they were carrying their belongings because they had to evacuate. And then Ed Gumban and I started running, trying to get pictures, but eventually the family already left, and we didn't get any pictures of that. But Sir Romy did. So I had this thing, and I'm like, why is he standing there? It's standing there for so long. But it turned out that I think he had this hunch. He knew what was coming. So in a way, he taught us to be, to have this patience to wait, that there's going to be a story there. But outside of that, from where I was at that time, I have to say I owe a lot of, where I got because of the opportunity Sir Romy gave me. It was through him that I was able to get front page materials for national newspapers. I didn't get that, and I wasn't planning on it. But for some reason, I met your father, and he had a lot of influence on how I did things. And then I may no longer engage in photojournalism because right now I mostly write the news. But he was somebody that, for his stature, he had no ego. Just when I met him, I thought he's gonna be this, commanding, authoritative figure, but he was not. And then it felt like you're talking to your grandfather that gives you, advice. So it felt like that for me, even to the point that when he used to call me at like 5 in the morning to tell me, "Oh, Tara, your photo made it to the front page of this newspaper. You should go get a copy." So he was actually more human than this larger than life figure in the photojournalism field. So, mabuhay ka, Sir Romy. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you, Tara, for
Yeah.
your story also.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that signature Romy
Sure.
move off. We're not going to spend on anything expensive.
Yeah.
We're going to find a way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Up next, we have also a very close friend of my dad, and I would like to call on Tito Wig Theismans, and I wanted to share the photo that I wanted him to talk about. I wanted to ask him what was Romy doing. But Tito Wig, if you can say something, okay, I can spotlight you. Yeah, and you are muted. So
hello, everyone.
Awesome. And Tito Wig, this is the photo.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Tito.
Hi.
What was
Hi,
wrong?
everyone. Good evening and good morning, the US. Yeah, what a funky photo, no? This was a happy accident, actually. I think a week before, I convinced some photojournalists to do a group photo in the nude in somewhere in Malate, no? And the original people that were supposed to be in that group photo were Luis Liwanag, Alex Baluyot, Tim Bismarck, Romy Gacad, and maybe if I was able to convince some more, Bullet Marquez. But what happened was, on that occasion, which we set for a schedule of a group nude that I was to photograph, incidentally, this was in 1985, I think. And at that time, that was the height where I was doing a lot of portraits of artists in the nude. And I used to hang out in our watering hole in the Penguin Cafe, where I would try to convince friends to do a photo, no, with me, to collaborate on a nude. And what happened was, so we were all there at the Penguin.
Yung kay Romy Gacad.
What happened then was we were all at the Penguin Cafe and we were talking about this, doing this. No, this was, I think, in the troubled times already in the Philippines. I mean, I don't know if it was a little earlier when Ninoy was just assassinated and everybody was, all the journalists were photographing rallies and speeches by Cardinal Sin, etc., because the nude, the group nude, had so many of the publications that were on the floor, no? If that, do you have that photo, Sabrina, or is this the only one you have?
Have photos, yes. Let
Yes,
me get
yeah. If you can just show that first, because that is the story before the portrait.
1 second, Tita. Where's the second one? All right.
By the way, that was in our youth, no? I think Romy was 26 years old then, and I was around 30. So there's a little, we were not, we were a bit mischievous, so to speak, during the time. Okay, so this is the iconic photograph. Believe it or not, those 4 guys lived in that room, okay? And if you can see on the left, that's a rolled mattress. So whenever they need to do something or they need to write something, they have to roll their mattress so to have space, no? So Romy and Bullet, they were supposed to be in this photo. But unfortunately, the two arch rivals, best friends, etc., I think Bullet was with AP and Romy was with AFP. Unfortunately, they could not make it to the shoot because they had to rush their photos. They had to send their photos for the day. This was a weekend. This was a Saturday, no? And they had to rush their photos. So they didn't make it, okay? Gigi Tueñas, an actress who's the point of interest of the group, no? She was another happy accident. So when we were planning this on the day, Gigi happened to be walking by, going to a parlor in front of this house, okay? And I asked Gigi, hey Gigi, you know, we need a female to join the group. And she said, what kind of shoot is that? I said, it's a nude. Oh, sure, fine. I'll do the nude. And then I said, no, I want you in a bathing suit. The rest of the guys will be nude. But she obliged. And so just to show you all of those photos on the floor and all of those publications scattered, the films, etc., these are photos by this journalist, this photojournalist, no? That they have done and they have contributed, and their pictures landing on all those newspapers. So comes now Romy Gacad and his nude. Sabrina, thank you. So after that session at night, incidentally, the room in the house where they stayed was just across the street from the Penguin Cafe. So after that evening, after that shoot, we all met up at the Penguin Cafe. And shortly after, Bullet and Romy arrived, and they were so happy they were able to submit their photos to be sent by radio photo before, no? And Romy, on the other hand, was so disappointed that he missed out on this photo session, this group session. And I said, you know what, Romy, maybe the better thing to do is just to do your own solo nude. And he said, okay, I'm game. Where will we do it? I said, we'll think about it. Let's schedule it one day. And shortly after, I said, I think this was a weekend also, and I said, okay, I'll go and see you in your office, and then we'll think of something from there. So as soon as I got to the AFP office, incidentally, this is the roof of a restaurant. I think it was a Chinese restaurant below this, and the AFP office would be to your left if you're looking at the photo. No, in the far end is the Sofitel Hotel, by the bay, and I don't know what building that is on the left. But what happened was when we were there, and he said, okay, where will we do it? And I was looking out the window, and his window from his desk was the roof, this roof. And on the right was the U.S. Embassy. So the U.S. Embassy complex, this is on Rojas Boulevard. And I said, I think this is perfect. We will do it on the roof. Nobody will see you. Of course, I don't know if there were CCTV already back then in 84 or 85. So he was game. I said, and then he said, so what am I going to do? Just get your cameras, I said, because, and wear your cameras the way you do when you go out to the field to shoot. Normally, he would be carrying that much equipment aside from his bag. Okay, so that's the Romy Gacad portrait, no? And I think I took only about 8 or 9 shots, and this was the most poignant of all. No? It was just looking straight at the camera. I almost no direction. No, I just said, just look straight, and this was it. And for the longest time, I think this was only exhibited once, and I think I showed this once in Chicago. I showed a series of portraits of people, both nude and clothed, of artists in the Philippines, and it was done together with the launch of Philippine Airlines' first flight to Chicago. And by then, Romy hasn't seen this photograph. Actually, this photograph surfaced again when I was asked by a British magazine. Well, they had a local counterpart here in the Philippines. It was called Digital Photographer, and they featured my nudes, no? And this was one of the nude portraits that was in that magazine. And then after that, everything was shelved again. And the only time Romy saw this photo was when it was exhibited at the Ateneo Art Gallery, I think in 2018, when he was here for a visit. A good friend of ours, Agnes Calleja, took him there to look at the exhibit, and we have funny photos of that also, because he was amused at seeing this in an exhibition, no? Among other nudes. Well, this is Romy. This was a very memorable collaboration that we did. I mean, collaboration I did with any artist, no? He was set when he decided, okay, let's do it. It was just like that. It was just straight on, no? And of course, I've done so many others later on, but this was one of the more memorable photographs that I've done, especially because he is a colleague, no? A photographer at that also. how I wish he could have done my portrait too. But I mean, he did a few shots during our, what do you call this now? During our meetings, though, our occasional meetings, and it was all, for fun. It was all in fun. Again, thank you very much, and my condolences again to the family, and to all the friends, all his dear friends. My condolences. Bullet, you were supposed to be in that group photo, but I know you were undecided even then.
Thank you, Tito Wig.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Tapos,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for sharing also. Hi, everyone. We are coming to the tail end of our program, and I'm hoping we are all getting a sense, because the intention really was to show people this complete composite photo image of Romy Gacad. And I'm seeing sa chat in the Zoom how the backstories are finally heard. Hi to everybody. And people in Zoom also saying that everyone was part of some of these events. So I wanted also at this point to turn us back to Thailand in Bangkok with my brother and my sister, Raha and Bianca. We'd like to say just a few words from the Gacad kids. I'm trying to look for the Thailand bit. Okay, let's see.
Oh, hi. I'm here.
All right. Can you say hi again?
Hi. Can you
Hi.
see me? Hello. Oh, there you are. Myself. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. I guess, first and foremost, thank you for being with us in this process of grief. About 3 months ago, I remember my conversation with my dad. We were talking about mortality. And I was amazed by how calm he was when he talked about end of life. He said he looked at it as a transition. And I felt so lucky to hear those words from himself. Even 4 years ago, I didn't imagine I would be living here. It was kind of an accident. I always keep telling that, but it wasn't. And I got to know him much closer through all those 4 years. And the story I tell myself maybe is that we were healing together. That was an important moment in my life, like my late 20s. And I was getting to know my dad as an adult. Many of us know that his career, when we were growing up, it required a lot of time away from us. But he always found a way to include us and tell us about the experiences he's had. And except for the one with the nude photo from Tito Wig, he didn't tell us that. There. So basically, now in this process, I'm trying to tell myself that there will be an empty space, but like I told everyone this morning, he is truly present in me. In every cell. Maybe in my habits too, If you know me as a close friend, maybe you'll see the similarities in the way I probably speak or walk or something, but definitely not the height. And then maybe this is the last part. About 3 weeks ago, we watched No Time to Die, James Bond 007. And that's what I'd like to think about, that he's always going to be around, especially with the photos. Our home in Manila is full of photo albums. And maybe we'll get a new place for those, a separate place. And now my altar at home has a new addition to it. Thank you all for joining us. It's your turn now, Raha.
Hello, good evening. I just wanted to talk about the Bangkok life with Daddy, and well, I have to say, we were roommates for a very long time, and it wasn't just a father and son bonding. It was, we were like friends, right? Buddies, in one apartment, like roommates. Oh yeah. So I at that time, it was early January, arrived in Bangkok, and I was reading a book, and it's called Between Bloods and Bombs: A Journal of War by Shahanaaz Habib. And I brought it up in a dinner conversation because it was Dad's friend, I think, in Afghanistan, and I brought it up because I was like, it was my fascination with violence and human animosity, but not in a psychopathic way, all right? So it was kind of interesting, and I wanted to talk to Dad about what happened in Afghanistan, right? Because I was a little dumb kid back then, and he was out there in the war. So we were talking about this. I remember he was saying mujahideen, and it was like the rebels back in 2000, I think, or in the 90s. So they were fighting off Al Qaeda, and Dad was talking about how he was sleeping in one of these mujahideen camps. It was at night, it was dark, and then it wasn't really a comfortable place to sleep. And then in the morning, there were just bombing sounds from the distance. So they all woke up. And then my dad also stood up to see what's outside. So this rebel fighter stands up to this boulder, and then right at that moment, he got that moment. He captured it with his lens. And now I knew the backstory of that Time magazine cover, the closing in, because I was trying to recall what he was trying to say. I think I remember that picture, and it was just beautiful. It was that fighter looking from a distance, and the sun indirectly lighting up the environment, and the silhouette of that fighter standing up. It was beautiful. And the feelings that I get with how Dad tells these stories is equal to the feelings that I get from looking at that picture. It was a powerful masterpiece, And it wasn't just that. We were talking about, I remember so there was the sunset, and then the helicopter was right in front of the dark orange sun, and then on the left side, there was this huge desert painted tank. And then, wow, this is something that you can't, this is better than Hollywood. This is awesome. And I remember, having these stories with him. Super cool, real life, unscripted moments in war. And so in honor of Dad's legacy, I hope you all find the moment to go home to your families, talk about the coolest, or the dumbest or even the most mundane stories with your sons and daughters, your dads and your mothers and cousins, and just enjoy those conversations. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bianca and Raha. Now me again. I just wanted to say, maybe among all the identities that I've ever had to attach to myself or ever say was my identity, the one identity I never had to question, I never had to define, was being Romy Gacad's daughter. Growing up, it was so easy. So many friends of daddy and so many trips. And then as I went into the world on my own, going into the progressive circles and just saying, my name is Sabrina Gacad, and everyone just starts to ask, are you Romy Gacad's daughter? Or how are you related to Romy Gacad? I thought like, yeah, sure, I'm not gonna drop that identity just yet. And even now that my dad has passed away, by far the easiest identity that I never had to question, I never had to define, I willingly step into that role. So I also wanted to say, growing up, my dad wasn't always physically present. As you can see, the photos, the assignments, he was there, but he also was very present in so many different ways with us. And I'm very happy to, in a way, have a more complete picture of that side of my life. That was what was going on with daddy. You guys were the people he was spending his time with, and you were making his life as full as he was making mine. And finally, I just wanted to say, and if you can bring one hand on top of your heart and just the other one over, and maybe we can take 3 collective breaths together, allowing your palms to listen to the beating of your heart. Because I think the other thing that I learned or shared with my journey into embodiment and spirituality. And it was so funny because around the time that he was going through his cancer journey and he went into all the holistic responses to taking care of one's body and one's health, I was also going more deeply into my own yoga practice. And so eventually we were doing yoga together, and he would attend the classes that I held in Manila when he was here. And then eventually when the pandemic hit, he was also using my yoga videos that I was sharing with some friends online. So just taking a moment to really breathe into that space of our connectedness. And I know we all have Romy in our hearts, and it is such a privilege for us, my sister Bianca, my brother Raha, my mom Nida, the whole Walong Supling, the whole Gacad Manikis clan, my cousins. It's such a privilege for us to share Romy Gacad with all of you. And as a final tribute, not just to Romy, of course, but to all of us who have been very incredible parts of his life, we we curated a couple of photos. Thank you, Allison, my cousin, Allison Gacad, who helped to put the slide together. You'll also be hearing music from our cousin Ivy Gacad Fernandez, and she's going to be on the piano for this. So this is our tribute to all of you who shared Romy Gacad with us, and of course to Romy Gacad. Mabuhay ka. FCCT Thailand, if you can play the slideshow.
Ina, can you hear me?
Yes, ate.
This is a classic Filipino music. My memories of my uncle and the niece. Yes, he will put a stage for us during New Year's Eve, and he will have us like just, present. So this is for you, Tito Romy. It's Gaano Kita Kamahal with Thomas Robbie. Tanging yaman, peace. It translates our only treasure. For you, Tito Romy. Saan ka man, Tito Romy, wherever you are, we have you in our hearts, in our batik, in our scarves. This is for you.
I I will close the ceremony. Sabrina?
Tatlong oras na po tayo dito.
Yes,
Yes.
please. Thank you.
Tapos yun, alas 12 sa kanila.
Okay, so yeah, this is the end of our program tonight. It was really a beautiful event. Bianca, you mentioned the James Bond movie you just saw, and that made me think about another James Bond movie that would maybe also fit to Romy. It's called, I don't know if you have seen it, if you remember, You Only Live Twice. And I'm sure he would love the idea. So anyway, Romy will, live in us, and that's the most important. Is I think for us to take a part of his lesson and to keep it with us, and that's a way to keep him alive. Thank you very much to everybody. It was really nice to hear all these stories, and thank you to the FCCT again. See you soon, and Mabu Heka. Everybody, Romy, Sawadee Krab, Popkan Mai. Thank you so much. See you soon. À bientôt.
Thank you, everyone. We wanted to invite people in Zoom for a photo.